Spring in Santa Barbara is usually painted with golden sunshine, clear skies, and the endless shimmer of the Pacific Ocean. For college students across California, it means something more. Deltopia massive street party along the beaches near UCSB. Thousands of students gather each year, blasting music from balconies, dancing on rooftops, and flooding the streets in a blur of neon swimsuits, sunglasses, and alcohol. For my group of 5 friends seniors about to graduate, it was supposed to be our last big celebration together. Hunter, one of us, had an advantage. His younger sister was a student at UCSB and agreed to let us crash at her small apartment near the campus. It seemed perfect cheap lodging, close to the beach, and right in the center of the chaos. We loaded our car with overnight bags, snacks, and too much cheap liquor, then drove down to Santa Barbara, buzzing with excitement. As soon as we pulled into Isla Vista, the atmosphere was overwhelming. Music thumped from every corner, crowds cheered from balconies, and people dressed in every kind of wild costume passed by, shouting greetings as if we were all long-lost friends. Inside the apartment, we settled in and joked about how we'd probably never remember half the night. At that moment, none of us had the faintest idea that the real memory we'd take home would have nothing to do with the party, because that's when Amir showed up. Hunter's expression soured the second he saw him. Amir was more of an acquaintance than a friend, someone who floated around the edges of our social circles. He had a reputation for being unstable. Sometimes he was quiet and oddly intense, other times aggressive and confrontational. Hunter had specifically avoided inviting him to this trip, but there he was, standing at the apartment door with a sly smile, as if he belonged there. "Hey, what are the odds? You guys came to Deltopia too. Mind if I crash here tonight?" The question dropped like a stone. None of us wanted him there. Hunter frowned and asked how Amir had even found us. Amir chuckled and explained casually. Hunter still had his location shared on iPhone from some group hangouts months ago. He had simply followed it. The realization sent a chill through all of us. Still, Hunter tried to keep his tone polite. "Sorry, man, the apartment's already full. There's no room." But Amir didn't take the hint. He lingered, insisting it was too late for him to go anywhere else, pressing harder to be let in. When Hunter finally stood his ground and firmly told him to leave, Amir's expression shifted. For a moment, his eyes fixed on each of us, unblinking, calculating. Then he turned and walked away without another word. We all exchanged uneasy glances, but brushed it off. After all, it was Deltopia. Thousands of people were out there. Surely Amir would just melt into the crowd. Yet the rest of the day carried an odd undertone. In the middle of the chaotic party, with hundreds of strangers swaying and shouting around us, 1 or 2 of us thought we spotted Amir in the distance, sometimes leaning against a wall, sometimes slipping between groups of partiers, always too far away to be certain. Was it paranoia, or was he actually following us? When the night ended, we stumbled back to the apartment, exhausted, our heads heavy from alcohol and sunburn. Everyone quickly collapsed into makeshift beds on couches and sleeping bags. Then, sometime past midnight, the sound of shattering glass snapped us awake. We bolted upright. The living room window had been smashed in, shards glittering across the floor. Panic surged through the apartment. Was someone trying to break in? Hunter grabbed a kitchen knife while we checked the rooms one by one. That's when we found it, inside. The bedroom closet wedged between hangers and jacket sleigh. Another knife, a large kitchen knife that did not belong to Hunter's sister or anyone else in the apartment. The room fell into a heavy silence. No one said it out loud, but we were all thinking the same name, Amir. We called the police immediately. They arrived quickly, searched the surrounding streets, and took our statements. But there was no sign of Amir anywhere. It was as if he had vanished into the night. The next morning, Hunter tried reaching out, texts, calls, even social media, but Amir had blocked every one of us. Gone. On the surface, the story ended there. The broken window was fixed. We finished the trip and eventually returned home. But the unease never left. Amir knew where we lived. He had seen inside Hunter's sister's apartment. He had followed us once. What was stopping him from doing it again? And the question that still claws at the back of my mind, when did that knife end up in the closet? Did Amir sneak in while we were out at the party, hiding the weapon for later? Or had he been inside the apartment while we laughed, drank, and carried on, completely unaware that danger was only a few feet away? Deltopia was supposed to be a wild, carefree weekend. For most people, it was, but for us, it became a reminder that sometimes the scariest thing isn't the stranger in the crowd. It's the familiar face, the one you thought you knew that turns out to be the real nightmare. The mid-1990s in Texas meant long, endless highways stretching through dry plains, dotted with the occasional gas station or diner. 3 young airmen stationed at Goodfellow Air Force Base in San Angelo. Those roads were routine. Weekend trips to Austin were the perfect escape music. Bars, and a break from the grind of military training. That's how it started for us. Myself, Sebas and Kay. 3 friends, still in our early 20s. Loading into Kay's SUV, one warm evening in 1996. The sun was dropping low, turning the sky a burning shade of orange as we merged onto the highway headed east. We were in high spirits, joking about the weekend ahead, blasting rock music through the cheap car speakers. The highway was nearly empty, just an occasional truck rumbling past. But after a while, we noticed something odd. A black Chevy Tahoe had been trailing behind us for miles. At first, it didn't seem unusual. But when the SUV sped up, then slowed down, then crept up again, all while staying directly behind us, unease began to set in. Then the lights came on. Blue and red strobes flickered from inside the Tahoe's front grille. At first, relief washed over us. Okay, just a cop, Kay muttered and pulled to the side of the road. But almost immediately, something felt off. The vehicle didn't have any official police markings. No insignia, no decals, just a plain, black Tahoe with aftermarket lights. Still, the driver got out and started walking toward us. He was tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in dark tactical gear. From a distance, he looked authoritative, but as he approached, the details didn't add up. No badge on his chest, no nameplate, no hat, just heavy boots, cargo pants, and a bulletproof vest. He tapped the window, and Kay rolled it down halfway. "Evening," the man said flatly. His eyes flicked between us. "License and registration." Kay hesitated, then asked politely, "May I see your badge, sir?" The man didn't answer right away. Instead, he leaned down, shining a flashlight into the car, sweeping it over our bags, our uniforms tossed in the back seat, our faces. "Finally," he said, "just routine." "Step out of the vehicle." Sebas and I exchanged nervous glances. Something was wrong. His voice lacked the clipped, professional tone cops usually had, and the way he was studying Usid was like a predator sizing up prey. Kay, though, kept his composure. He opened the door and stepped out slowly. The man questioned him first. Where we were headed, where we came from. Kay answered truthfully. "We're stationed at Goodfellow, just going to Austin for the weekend." The shift was immediate. The man's posture changed. His eyes narrowed slightly, then relaxed. He grunted, handed Kay's ID back without looking closely, and suddenly, his whole demeanor softened. "All right," he muttered. "You boys, be careful out here. Lot of weirdos on this stretch of highway." Then, without another word, he turned, climbed back into his Tahoe, and sped off into the darkness. We sat frozen for a moment, hearts hammering. Then Kay slid back into the driver's seat, shut the door, and locked it. "That wasn't a cop," Sebas whispered. We all knew it. The lack of ID, the fake lights, The strange behavior, it was too obvious. And yet, for reasons we couldn't fully explain, we just drove on, too shaken to process what had nearly happened. A week later, the truth came crashing down. The local news reported a grisly story. A young couple had been stopped along the same highway. They never made it home. Their bodies were found in a ditch miles away, their belongings stolen. The vehicle used in the crime, a black Chevy Tahoe. Police later discovered it was stolen and retrofitted with fake emergency lights. I remember staring at the TV, goosebumps crawling up my arms. The details lined up perfectly with our encounter. The plain Tahoe, the fake cop routine, the strange inspection of our car. The only thing that had saved us, I'm convinced, was Kay mentioning that we were military. Maybe the man decided we weren't worth the risk, 3 trained airmen who might fight back. Maybe he thought we'd be harder to intimidate, or more likely to report him immediately. Whatever the reason, his interest evaporated the moment our uniforms were mentioned. We reported the incident. Of course, the local authorities took our statements, nodding gravely, but the damage was done. Another couple hadn't been so lucky, and we couldn't shake the guilt that maybe if we had reacted differently, if we had trusted our instincts and reported that Tahoe the night it happened, those lives could have been saved. To this day, whenever I see flashing lights in the rearview mirror, my stomach knots. I know most officers are legitimate, but somewhere in the back of my mind, I'll always wonder, is it really a cop this time? Or is it someone else entirely waiting for me to pull over in the dark, isolated stretch of road where no one would hear me scream? It was supposed to be a straightforward road trip. About 10 years ago, I packed up my old sedan in New Jersey and started driving south and west, bound for Fort Worth, Texas, to visit family. I had done long drives before, nothing unusual about endless highways, cheap motels, and greasy roadside diners. There's a certain loneliness to it, but also a freedom. Just you, the road, and the horizon. That sense of freedom ended abruptly somewhere in the middle of Arkansas, or maybe Oklahoma. I was too disoriented to remember clearly. It was late afternoon, the sun dropping low, when my car sputtered and died on a desolate stretch of road. No gas stations, no houses, just open fields and silence. I cursed under my breath and tried everything I could to restart the engine, but the old car refused. For nearly half an hour, no one passed. Finally, a dusty pickup truck slowed and pulled over. Relief surged through me when a man stepped out, maybe in his late 30s, with a baseball cap and grease-stained jeans. "You look stuck," he said casually. "Your car just died on me." "You know much about engines?" I asked. He smiled. "Lucky for you, I'm a mechanic." At first, it felt like a stroke of luck. He popped the hood, poked around, muttered about spark plugs and timing belts. I hovered nervously, not understanding a word, but grateful someone had stopped. Then, he asked to borrow my phone to call a buddy for advice. I didn't think twice. I handed it over, and that's when everything changed. Instead of dialing, he pulled a pistol from his waistband and leveled it at my chest. "Step back. Don't do anything stupid," he said flatly. Shock froze me in place. My heart pounded so hard I thought I might pass out. He ordered me to empty my pockets. I handed over my wallet, my backpack from the passenger seat, and of course my phone now already in his hand. He rifled through the backpack quickly, then shoved it under his arm. "Don't try to follow me, stay right here." Then he climbed back into his truck and drove off, leaving me stranded, terrified, and suddenly very, very alone. The next hours were a blur. Eventually another driver stopped and let me use their phone to call the police. I filed a report, but the officer's tone said it all. "We'll do what we can, but these things happen out here." They gave me a ride to a tow yard, where I arranged repairs, and, shaken but alive, continued my trip. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. Within days, strange charges began appearing on my bank account. Purchases I never made in Tennessee, gas stations in Georgia, hotel rooms under my name. The thief hadn't just stolen my belongings, he had stolen me at first. I tried going through my bank, canceling cards, changing passwords. But every time I thought I had it under control, new fraudulent accounts appeared. Someone had opened credit cards in my name. Someone had applied for loans. My identity was no longer mine, it belonged to a stranger. I was furious, helpless, and determined. I started digging. Late nights on my computer, combing through transactions, looking for patterns. Then one day, on Craigslist, I found it. A listing from Jackson, Tennessee. For sale, electronics, tools, and backpack items that matched exactly the purchases I'd seen on my stolen credit report. It was the break I needed. I called the local police department in Jackson, explained everything, and gave them the details. They were skeptical at first. After all, I was just some guy from New Jersey, claiming to track down thieves from hundreds of miles away. But eventually, they sent detectives to follow up. The sting operation worked. They caught not just one man, but 3 members of a traveling crew who roamed interstate highways, preying on stranded drivers, robbing them at gunpoint, and using their IDs to fuel a larger network of fraud. My wallet and phone were long gone, but the arrests tied back to my case. For the first time since that afternoon, I felt like I could breathe again. Justice was served, or at least, as much as the justice system could provide. The men were prosecuted and sentenced. My bank accounts were restored, though it took months of paperwork and endless frustration. Still, the scars weren't just financial. For years after, I lived with the paranoia that someone out there had a copy of my driver's license, my social security number, my signature. Even after the thieves were locked away, the thought lingered. What if another stranger, somewhere, was still living as me? I never told many people the full story. To some friends, it was just that time my car broke down and I got robbed. But to me, it was much darker. It was the day I learned that losing your identity doesn't just mean losing money. It means losing peace of mind, losing the certainty that your life is truly your own. And whenever I drive long stretches of empty highway now, I can't shake the memory, the dusty pickup pulling over, the false smile of a man pretending to help, and the cold weight of a gun pointed at me as my world collapsed in an instant. Because sometimes, the scariest monsters on the road don't hide in the dark. They stop, smile, and offer you help right before they take everything from you.